statistical, mathematical fact
never has been down.
has broken every single record. There is no asset that has come close.
It's the only thing in the industry that was not touched, that was not hacked, and it never fails doing what it promised in 2009. It's never
What's
failed.
the best performing asset the world has ever seen? And you'll find out that it's
Welcome, Bitcoiners, traders, X.comers, supporters, haters, all of you. Welcome. Surprise. I'm actually trying something relatively new here. I am in the midst of trying to finish off my daily steps for today. Decided to try my hand at doing a live space while I do this. So my sound obviously is going to be quite a bit different. I usually do these live spaces from my desk, but I'm out and about, ensuring that I get my proper steps in today, which is actually something that I try to encourage everyone that I care about to do. I try to get individuals that I care about to do two very important things in life. That is to look at Bitcoin, to look at this asset that I believe that has come into the experience of the human species, to take them to another level of existence. Yes, I believe it's come to do that. Maybe we can touch upon that in just a bit, but also to walk a bit more. I find that walking is highly underrated and certainly highly underutilized. Everyone should at least be walking, I think, at least 30 minutes a day, 15 minutes in the morning, and 15 minutes sometime before you retire for the evening. That's the minimum. But the optimal is just to do that 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes in the evening. I think that an hour walking today will go a long way to eliminating a lot of our health problems. Anyway, I'm glad to have you all here. See, the room is got a fairly decent number of listeners, despite the fact that there was no advance warning for this talk. But I want to talk very briefly, if I can, about a new frontier. And this is not the first time that I've touched on this topic, but I think it warrants us delving into this a tiny bit more. And I think this talk about this new frontier is going to, I think, add a deeper layer of understanding about Bitcoin's role in the world, at least from my perspective. But let's talk about the frontier first, and then we can delve into how I believe Bitcoin initially, its purpose is to serve as the money of that new frontier. All right? So the first thing I want to say is that the first thing I think we need to establish right off the bat is that frontiers are not inventions. They are discoveries. That's the first thing that I think is extraordinarily important to understand. One doesn't say, I invented a frontier. No, you discovered a frontier, a brand new something. And so when we say, which is somewhat laughable from a historical point of view, but let's go with this. When we say that Christopher Columbus was given credit for discovering America, we don't say that Christopher Columbus invented America, that Christopher Columbus created this new frontier called America. No, we say that he discovered, even though that's historically not true, as we all know. But, American history gives Christopher Columbus the credit for so-called discovering this new frontier that became America. In the same fashion, John Dalton, let's take him, John Dalton, the English chemist and physicist, I think, who performed experiments on gases and concluded that all matter was actually made up of atoms that had different weights and properties. So this gentleman came up with the idea that matter had a different layer of existence made up of smaller particles called atoms that had different weights and properties. And so he sort of discovered a brand new frontier, a brand new layer of life, if you will, the atomic layer of life that always existed. He didn't invent atoms. He discovered something that was always there. Now, in reality, I believe that Lupertus and Democritus, I believe the two were two Greek philosophers who actually predated John Dalton, also talked about these things, but that's not really important. The point I'm trying to drive home is that frontiers are not inventions. They are discoveries. And what's also important to understand is that these discoveries did not start the existences of these frontiers at the point of discovery. They discovered new frontiers that had existed forever since the beginning of time. And that's important to understand as we delve into the new frontier that I think that we as a human species has recently discovered and are actually being sucked into more and more every single day of our lives. The internet, which really has its origin sometime in the beginning of the 1960s, the internet came into existence and helped us discover a brand new frontier, a brand new way of life, a brand new, I don't know, what's the word I'm searching for? A brand new realm of existence. This new frontier always existed. This new frontier was not invented by the internet. It was the internet helped us discover a frontier that had existed since the beginning of time. And for lack of a better phrase or term, I'm going to call that new frontier, that new world, the digital world. You see, the digital world has always existed. It was sitting around waiting for human beings to find it, to discover it, and to begin to take part in it. But it's not something that the internet created. The internet was the vehicle that helped us discover that there is this realm that we call the digital world. And ever since the internet, via the internet, we discovered this new realm, this new world. This new frontier has been sucking more and more of our lives into this new realm. More and more of our existences have been pulled into this new world and continue. And more of it continues to be sucked into this new world called the digital world. The digital world has claimed our mail. There was a time where mail used to be delivered by the ponies and ships and birds and carriages, vehicles. Today, There's far more mail that exists in the digital world than in the physical world. Our mail has been sucked into this new frontier, this new world. And our photos, I've talked about this 1,000 times. Our photos, by and large today, are all digital. When's the last time you actually picked up a physical photo, held it in your hand, rubbed your finger along the edges of the actual photo itself, touched the face on this photographic piece of paper? When's the last time you've done that? Some of you have never done that. I'm willing to bet you have more digital photos which you've never touched, never felt, never actually seen in the physical world. You have more of those photos in your phone today than in any album that's sitting in your home or your mother's home or your grandparents' home. Today, I have over 50,000 photos in one of the phones. Actually, the phone that I'm speaking on you now, over 50,000 photos. And that's not including the videos. Our photos have been cleaned by this new world. They used to exist in large part in the physical world, and they have been sucked into this brand new realm, this brand new frontier. Most of us, our movies have been sucked into the digital world. I remember leaving my trading office on Wall Street on a Friday, rushing to grab one of the 21 new releases that came out at the nearby Blockbuster of a brand new movie that was just going to hit the shelves in Blockbuster on Friday. And I remember doing my best to rush to the closest Blockbuster I could get to, because they had announced they were getting 21, I'm just using that number because of 21 million Bitcoin, but whatever the number is, a limited number of copies in first come, first serve. Today, there are millions upon millions of movies that we have access to that we no longer touch, feel, actually see in the physical realm. Our movies, our music, our photos, our mail, and some of us even have deeper relationships that can be regarded as digital than the actual physical relationships we have in the physical world. I am close in many different respects and regard a number of people that I've never met in my life, but we spend time together through our daily activities every single day in the digital space, in the digital world, and they mean something to me. I care about them, and yet I've never laid eyes on them. I've never shaken their hand. I've never gone to their home, never looked them into the eye, and I've never looked them in the eye. And so my point in explaining all of this is that the dematerialization of our physical existence has been going on for the last several decades. More and more of our lives have been sucked into a world that always existed, but that we relatively recently discovered via the internet. The internet was the vehicle that helped us, voila, see that this brand new world, which has always existed, is now available to us. And it's consuming the physical world. I believe that Bitcoin is the continuation of that discovery. Bitcoin is new in a sense But in another real sense, it's in a very real sense, it's not really a new movement. You see, the way I see it is that Bitcoin is the next era of this new world, this digital world. Prior to Bitcoin, we began to understand that things can exist in this new world, that we can spend a good portion of our lives in this new frontier, that our movies can be there, our mail can be there, some of our friendships can be there, our entertainment can be there. But we never really thought that scarcity could exist in that world. We never thought that there was scarcity in this new frontier. We're pioneering and conquering this frontier day by day, week by week. Companies plugged their existences into this new frontier, and the earlier conquerors of this new frontier, the Metas of the world, formerly known as Facebook, the Apples of the world that decided to shift and point their businesses at this new world, the Microsofts of the world, the Amazons of the world, the Googles of the world. They were the early pioneers and ultimately the conquerors of this new space, this new world, this new frontier. But none of them ever thought, as pioneers and conquerors, they never thought that there was something called scarcity there. They knew scarcity to a certain level existed in the physical world, but they always dealt with an issue when it came to the new world that they operated in. They always struggled with the copy problem in the digital world. You see, if I send you a piece of mail, an email, in this digital world, I still have a copy of the email. And so, how can there ever exist scarcity? How can something be limited in this new world if every time I send something in this new world to another, I retain a copy of it? And they can retain a copy of it and copy the thing that I sent them an infinite number of times. How can something be scarce in this world? And it was always assumed that scarcity didn't exist in this world, that a photo could not be made to be limited, that a piece of music could not be made to be limited, that a movie could not be limited, a piece of mail could not be limited. And so to create some semblance of limiting what entered the digital world, they used law. And so for the first period of the digital world, laws tried to prevent things from being copied too much. And so the music industry went to war against Netscape, who was basically taking songs and providing them for free, and people getting these files were able to copy them in an unlimited way. The movie industry went to war with the digital world by trying to prevent people from copying their movies there. And they tried to create a sense of scarcity through law. But we understand that laws are made to be broken, and it's a very ineffective way to create scarcity. And so for the most part, companies and individuals who began to become more used to operating in this brand new frontier, they threw their hands up and just tried to deal with the fact that scarcity just wasn't here in this brand new world. That is until Satoshi Nakamoto brought about Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin solved the problem of scarcity in the digital world. Now, here is the crux of my talk with you today. We have to be very careful, in my opinion. We have to be careful when we say Satoshi Nakamoto invented Bitcoin. This is a very precariously thin line to walk, because in my book, he did not invent Bitcoin. He discovered scarcity in the digital world. You see, we call it Bitcoin. It was labeled Bitcoin, but really what we're really truly saying is that here's scarcity. Here it is. All right, call it Bitcoin, but it's scarcity. It's limited. It's finite. We never thought that something finite existed here. Something finite doesn't even exist in the real physical world. So we certainly didn't expect it to be in this brand new world, the digital world. We do have some semblance of scarcity in the physical world, but we never thought that it was here in this brand new world that we are being sucked into more and more. But here it is. Because of the work of Satoshi Nakamoto, using existing technologies, existing things, put them together in a certain unique way, and voila. Wow, here it is. Here's scarcity. You see, people, scarcity cannot be created by a human being. Otherwise, it's not really scarce. Scarcity is found. Scarcity is discovered, but scarcity can't come from another human being. A human being can't invent scarcity. And Bitcoin is just a nickname for digital scarcity. And I think this is very important to understand, because when you view Bitcoin this way, first of all, you understand something very crucial, that there can't be another one. You see, you can't discover fire twice. The first time you discover fire, you can't say, okay, let's undo that discovery. Let's pretend like it was never discovered, and let's discover it again. You can't. Once you discover something, it can't be discovered twice. So when you understand that Bitcoin is nothing more than a nickname for digital scarcity, you naturally understand, well, there can only be one discovery. You can't have an alternative discovery. There's no alternative fire. You understand? There's no, wait, we discovered electricity. There's no alternative electricity. Oh, we discovered the atom. Oh, there's no alternative atom. The scientists at first began to realize that the atom wasn't the smallest unit of human life, that there was something called an electron. There was something that was subatomic. I forget his name, but he didn't invent that. He didn't invent the electron, which led to the discovery of the proton and the neutron. But he didn't invent that. And once he discovered the electron, and once he discovered the electron, you can't have an alternative electron. And so the idea of an alternative Bitcoin, an alternative cryptocurrency, is false when you look at this the correct way, or at least what I consider to be the correct way. So, what is my major point here? My major point is that you can literally use the synonym digital scarcity for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the nickname for digital scarcity. It is a finite item that we discovered or found in the new frontier that the internet helped us discover. So Bitcoin, being digital scarcity, naturally is now the thing of value in this new world that more and more of our lives are being sucked into. You see, as a kid, I was born in the 60s. And in the 60s, I was too young to truly experience this, but I still sort of felt the movement in the 70s. In the 60s, there was this race going on between the United States and Russia, who was going to conquer outer space first. And to be very honest with you, Russia was beating the United States' ass in this race. They had put the first, monkey in space. And so President Kennedy said, we're going to put the first man on the moon. And there was this movement to do this throughout the entire decade of the 1960s. And it was exhilarating from the things that I've read. It was exciting. It brought the whole country together in a competitive way. And whether you believe that the moon landing is real or not is beside the point. My point is that this created this fascination with a brand new frontier. It was called space, outer space. And I lived with this excitement in the 70s as I was a little older. And I read books about the United States. I actually wanted to be an astronomer. This was the first thing I remember ever wanting to be in my life. Not a fireman, not a policeman, but an astronomer, because the atmosphere was charged with this fascination about a new frontier called outer space. And this spurred a plethora of new authors that became focused on writing fiction, novels about outer space, and things of this nature. Little did we know that we were actually going to start conquering a different space first, a space called cyberspace. And it is this cyberspace, not the outer space, but it's the cyberspace that came first. We discovered outer space first, but our lives began being sucked not into outer space first. Our lives have been being sucked into cyberspace. And Bitcoin is the continuation of this movement of our lives into a new space, a new frontier. And now we have something of value, discovered something of real value that is not controlled by any man. It's not manipulated by any man because it's not from the world of man. It's the world of cyberspace. It's the digital realm. This thing of value operates without human intervention. Its rules are clear for all to see and mapped out for eternity. And it's absolutely mathematically provable to every human being that it is scarce and finite. This is not a guess. This is not this is not a speculation. This is mathematically true and can be verified by any human being on earth. And so Bitcoin exists in this new world, this cyberspace, this digital world, and it exists there as the thing of value. And this, in the same fashion that our entertainment in the physical world has been sucked into this new world, our music, our movies, our mail, many of our relationships, our photos, all digital, sucked there. Bitcoin has emerged to suck everything that we deem of value in the physical world there. If we consider it valuable here, it gets sucked into Bitcoin there. If we consider it has some worth here in the physical realm, it gets sucked into Bitcoin in the digital realm. We are migrating to a brand new world, relatively speaking. This migration has been going on for quite a while already now. And at this particular point, the majority of our lives are there. And so Bitcoin is the money of this world, this brand new world. We are leaving behind the money of the old world. We are leaving behind the sense that what is left in the physical world will retain value like a gold rock. This is ancient. This is still holding on to a world that is disappearing. This money was appropriated at a certain point, hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. But today, in the midst of this mass migration to the brand new cyberspace, it can't be brought along. It doesn't fit there. And if you are left behind in this migration, if you refuse to enter this brand new America, to use that analogy, you are going to be left behind forever. Forever. And so I thought it might be useful to have us all look at Bitcoin through this lens, through the lens that it simply is nothing more than a nickname that we've given to something that can't be invented, called scarcity. And that, yes, scarcity exists in this brand new world that we are all migrating to. Now, I don't know what was in the air today. Maybe it was the nature of my post regarding Bitcoin's hash rate hitting an all-time new high, or at least the moving average of its hash rate, breaking 560 exahashes per second, which is an ungodly number, guys. that no network in the world is even close to achieving. But I don't know if it was the nature of that post or whether there was something special in the air, but the level of idiocy that I received on that post is astounding to me. And I guess it woke up and caused those who don't have eyes to see this thing or ears to hear someone like Oliver Velez talk about it. It caused them to wake up and come out with comments about the fact that they believe that they just can't see Bitcoin as having some value, that it has in 15 years not demonstrated any use case, anything of value. And this in 2024 baffles me to no end. It's either these people are absolutely, there's one of three things. They're totally, absolutely blind and just have not and will not give 30 minutes to just looking at this thing. It wouldn't take any more than that. It's either that or there's a level of stupidity that simply can't be fixed. You see, you can be ignorant. Ignorance can be fixed. Ignorance is simply not knowing. But there's a level that is deeper or more troublesome than ignorance. That's called stupidity. My father used to say, Oliver, you can't fix stupid, so don't even try. And so they've either refused to, they haven't and refused to give this 30 minutes of investigation, or they're stupid and they'll never get it. And that's just life. There's always going to be the stupid level that never get things. Or third, they're being intellectually dishonest because they're tied. They have an association with something else. They are tied and incentivized to support something else. And by supporting and putting Bitcoin down in a stupid way is their form of supporting the thing that they're tied to. It's got to be either one of those three things. And so, because in 2024, now, to say that you do not see a use case for Bitcoin, that you don't see value there, it just simply can't be. We're in 2024. It's 15 years later. And so, one response I gave to this, I did a lengthy response, and my responses are never really for the person who asks. They're for the small handful of people who read my response. So I'm almost never directly speaking to the person who says something stupid. I am speaking to the people who will read my response to something stupid for two reasons. If anybody else is thinking that way, maybe my response will help. Hopefully, and or maybe my response will help that person be able to come back at or answer someone else that comes to them with something similar. And so anyway, my most thorough response to this silly notion that Bitcoin doesn't have a value went something like this, and I want to share it here because I think it sort of ties into what I'm saying. I told the person, I said, look, there is not a single network in the world today that hasn't been hacked or compromised or been offline or down. Not a single one in existence today. Whether it's a network that is run by a mega corporation like Meta or Google, who has more networks than almost everybody, Amazon, or a government, pick any government in the world, Pick any financial institution, any bank. There's not a single network run in the entire world that has never been hacked. Every single one has been hacked. Banking networks get hacked multiple times an hour, their entire existence. You just don't know about it because they just replace the money. The money is fake. They can create it out of thin air. And it just happens so frequently that it's never reported anymore unless it's really, truly gargantuan. But if it's not, it literally happens almost on a several minute basis. Banks get hacked every several minutes of their entire existence. Countries are always hacked. Different divisions of the United States, the CIA, the FBI, they're all been hacked multiple times. They're hacked regularly. Every country in the world has been hacked. Every bank in the world has been hacked. Every financial institution in the world has been hacked. Every network in the world has been down, has had technical issues, has had glitches, has had to be fixed. Every single one. Yet, the entire world today operates on networks. Everything has been digitized. From libraries to banks to insurance companies to entertainment companies to movies to music to governments to agencies, every single thing in the world operates on a network today. Networks have taken over the world. And yet, there is only one that human beings have access to that's never been hacked. That's Bitcoin. There's only one network that hasn't been down once, not for a single second in the last decade. Only one, that's Bitcoin. There's only one that will never be hacked in the history of the world. That is Bitcoin. There is only one that can hold virtually every form of digital value that exists in the world. Trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars without batting an eye. There is only one network that is not controlled by human beings. That's Bitcoin. There's only one network in the world that cannot be manipulated, cannot be shut down, cannot be stopped, cannot be halted, cannot be brought to a pause, cannot be slowed down, cannot be sped up. That's Bitcoin. There's only one network in the world that actually pays human beings. Think about this. One network, all the networks work for human beings. All the networks and banks, they work for human beings. Human beings work for Bitcoin. There's only one network in the entire planet, on the entire planet Earth, that actually employs the human species to work for it. That is Bitcoin. Now, I ask you, the only network in existence to have never been hacked, not down in 10 years, that can hold all the value in the world, that pays human beings to take care of it. If a company had created that, what would the value of the company be? To have the only network in the world like this. Stupefying. If a country created a network that could never be hacked, ever again, could never go down, not even for a single second, for an eternity, that could hold anything and everything in the world of value in the digital space. A network that actually pays the country to just have it and take care of it. what value would that country have? Would it have an edge on every single other country in the world? Of course it would. How in 2024? This is basic knowledge about Bitcoin. This takes less than 30 minutes of looking into what Bitcoin is. It's a ledger. It's a freaking network, a global network that no one can stop, control. It's not run by any human being, and it pays human beings. That's less than 30 minutes of investigation in 2024. And there are people still saying, I don't see value in a network that can't ever go down, that can't ever be cracked, that can't ever be hacked, that no human being on earth can control, it does what no network has ever even conceived of possibly be doing, a network that pays human beings. How on earth? You either have to be, as I mentioned, just totally ignorant of these things, and you haven't given one iota of a second of your life to just looking at this, which is my number one purpose, just look. Or you're just stupid, and there is no cure for stupidity. You can't fix that. Or you know this, but because you created something, or you have bet on something else, and your bet requires that Bitcoin not be good, that Bitcoin not win, that's being intellectually dishonest. You've got to be one of these three in 2024 not to see this. It's absolutely asinine. Bitcoin has no value or use case. I always try to get people to understand from a very basic rudimentary point of view that if you're having struggles with understanding what this is, okay, let's just strip it down to its basic element. I want you to imagine a vault. Now, we know that vaults have been used for a long time to hold the things of most value to a person, a company, a country. Fort Knox is supposed to hold a very powerful percentage of the world's gold supply. We don't know because there's no audit. But that's what they tell us. You have to imagine that this gold, if it does exist there in Fort Knox, is sitting in vaults. Every major banking powerhouse has very specialized vaults. Vaults have been used to secure the things of the utmost of value. So Bitcoin at its true core is nothing more than a vault. But this vault, you can't touch. It's so secure that human beings can't touch it. Almost every other vault in the world, some human being can touch it. You may not be able to touch the vault in Fort Knox, but someone in Fort Knox can touch it. But this one, humans can't touch it. This vault can't be cracked. Every other vault in the world can. Someone can crack it. Every other vault was created by someone. This one wasn't. It was discovered. This vault can hold unlimited supply. Every other existing vault in the world has a limit by its dimensions, its height, its width, its depth. This one has no limits. It can hold all the value in the entire universe. And this is Bitcoin at its essence. It is the most secure thing that human beings have ever come in contact with. And if we place our life there, if we place anything of value there, it is secure for an eternity. We have to be responsible with the secret that it gives us. You see, it gives us a secret to hold, to be individually responsible for. And it demands personal responsibility to keep this secret. But if this secret is held, Bitcoin promises, vows by mathematical law that no one, no thing, no entity, no species will ever be able to touch your thing of value. Only you. It will be kept safe for an eternity. As long as you do your part. As long as you're independently responsible for the secret that it gives you, the 12 to 24 words. And on top of that, what Bitcoin has done is to ensure that whatever you trust to this vault, that it will grow and multiply many times over. The longer you keep it in the hands of Bitcoin, figuratively speaking, the more valuable it comes. Pull it out, and your value starts dissipating instantly by the hour, by the day, by the week, by the month. Stuff it back into the vault called Bitcoin, and it starts growing in value every 4 years, forever. Now, if my description of this vault is correct, and it is, how can you tell me that doesn't have value? That a vault like that doesn't have a use case? How? How was that possible in 2024? You're either stupid, which can't be fixed. You're either ignorant, in which case I hope this talk has encouraged you at least to investigate more to remove that ignorance. Or you're just intellectually a thief. You're intellectually dishonest. And I don't want to have anything to do with you. Anyway, guys, that's it. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. I think I got my steps in, guys? Yep, 15,000 steps. There it is. It is done. I want to thank all of you for joining me, helping me to get my steps in tonight while talking to you. I try to get in 15,000 steps a day. I got in 15,000. What is that? 15,378. So boom, it's done. I want to wish all of you a good evening, a good afternoon, a good morning, wherever you are in the world. Don't forget our window of opportunity to be able to buy our way into this vault is closing. This window of opportunity will not be open for a very long time. There will come a point in time where you can't buy you can't buy a ticket. You can't buy your way in. You'll have to work your way in. The companies that took advantage of the new frontier, the digital world that the internet helped us discover, those brand new companies that grabbed it first became the empires of today. They became the Amazons, the Googles, the Metas, the Apples, the Microsofts, those who plugged themselves in early while everyone was doubting, while everyone was calling it a fad. They are the emperors today. They have the empires today. We can be the emperors of tomorrow by grabbing it now. It's still early. There are still people calling it a fad. In 2024, there are still people saying, I don't see value. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. There's still stupidity around this. That's a good thing. These are signs that we are early and we can still stake our claim in this brand new frontier. We can still participate in the land grab. Now go stake your claim. Stack harder. Ciao for now. Boom.
My name is Oliver Velez, and I am your 13%er Bitcoiner. Be safe out there, and until next time. Boom!